also because we want to share the meeting with on our website, and we assume that there are no objections to this. Next slide, please. Well, just a short description of the program. After this introduction, we will show you a short video which explains, which provides you with background information concerning the SkillSea project, which will be followed by an introduction by Alex Bardo concerning digital skills. And in the second part of this seminar, Orestes Kinas will introduce the Green Skills 2 educational package. And as I just said, at the end of the meeting, there will be room for questions, which we will find in the chat. So please, let's start. Esther, can you start the movie?
The shipping industry is being transformed by new technology and digitalization. And as both the industry itself and EU legislation set new environmental goals for the sector, also green shipping is emerging as a key trend. Working in this changed maritime field requires a flexible attitude. Therefore, maritime professionals also need to gain more soft and entrepreneurial skills. Maritime education and training institutes sometimes have a hard time keeping up with the rapid changes in the sector. The European project SkillSea aims to unburden training institutions and maritime schools, providing a toolbox and educational packages for teachers. You can easily adapt or adopt them to create your own and get your teachings quickly up to date. The research done by SkillSea tells us that maritime professionals are in urgent need of digital and technological skills, innovation and green skills, and leadership skills. SkillSea developed the following educational packages: Green Skills 1 and 2, Digital Skills 1 and 2, Entrepreneurship and Innovation, Leadership, Science, Technology, Engineering and Mathematics, and a Train the Trainer. Fleetwood Nautical Campus started a pilot with the SkillSea materials. They started with the educational package Digital Skills 2 and piloted the course Maritime Cybersecurity. Program leader Alex Barlow and his students share their experience with us.
Using the SkillSea materials was really helpful for developing the cybersecurity package, because it's that with the cooperation between partners on the SkillSea project, it means that that we've got access to a lot more expertise than we would if we were only developing it internally using our own sort of narrow experience and field of knowledge. I definitely recommend the SkillSea packages for other educators, both in a training context and in a classroom education context, because they're really geared towards sort of helping you identify what information you need to know about.
We all found that the cybersecurity module has been very relevant so far. The industry is changing and cybersecurity threats are very real in this industry. So we found that the module was delivered at a good pace, and we all enjoyed and learned a lot from it.
My experience of the lessons has been really good, actually. I believe it's been very informative and I've learnt loads. I believe so. They've got me up to date. I've learnt a lot about different forms of attack and how to be secure against them and safe.
I'm very confident that this course has prepared us well for our careers, since the industry is moving forward in an increasingly technological manner, and with this course we'll be able to prevent a lot of cybersecurity threats.
I think that the movie, Esther? It seems that we're having some technical problems.
Yes, the video stopped.
Okay, then I'll
This is-
propose
yeah.
to continue. Can you
Thank
share
you.
the presentation again, Esther, please?
I think Alex can start his presentation. The video has stopped.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, Alex, the floor is yours. Please introduce yourself and start your presentation.
Hi there. Thank you, Deirdrick. So let me just make sure that my material's on the screen. So yes, thank you, and let me add my welcome to those attending, to those welcomes already given by Deirdrick. My name is Alex Barlow. You just saw me in the video that we were watching, talking about one of the other pilots that I've been involved in my job here as a program leader at Fleetwood Nautical Campus in the United Kingdom, and that I've been involved in 3 pilot programs as part of the SkillSea project, and that this one which I'm talking about is Digital Skills 1, which wasn't the cybersecurity one that was mentioned in the video, but instead it was looking at introducing basic digital skills for seafarers. And I've given this the subtitle, "How can you benefit from the Digital Skills 1 package?" And just a quick outline of what we're going to be looking at in this short presentation. So firstly, what was the problem that this package was trying to address? What was the solution that we used? What was our experience of using the educational package? And then how can you also benefit? And that when we think about careers at sea, that maybe there's different sorts of words that you might associate, and those who've been in the industry for a longer time, maybe those who've been at sea would think of the adventure, exploring, seeing the world, that maybe tradition. But in the 21st century, the words which we're maybe now needing to associate with the industry are changing. Maybe less of the tradition and adventure, perhaps more the digital transformation, environmental protection, STEM. And so for a lot of seafarers, they might not naturally think about these concepts, but when thinking about the career at sea, these are now the skills that the industry is very much looking for, and this is what the research conducted by the SkillSea Consortium has identified. And that with technology in particular, the shipping industry is rapidly undergoing a major digital transformation, and that there's been a lot of talk of and work towards autonomous vessels, but that's not going to be an overnight change, and there's lots of digital skills that seafarers require now and will increasingly require, and that much of our training for seafarers is based on STCW. But to what extent does STCW specify the digital skills required by seafarers? It's not so much. And that we have lots of different things that we use technology for on ships. That, for example, the condition monitoring, that making sure the status of equipment and using that to make business decisions. integrated navigation systems, vessel performance optimization, even just basic computer networking. So why is that a challenge? Well, with our example at Fleetwood Nautical Campus in England, that we've trained seafarers for over 125 years, and that we often see alumni of the organisation return to help us train the next generation. Some of them after 30 years at sea, 40 years at sea, wanting to give back to the industry that gave them a lifelong career. But that's not always that those traditional skills which they've developed over the course of their career might not always give them some of those newer skills that we're looking for from the 21st century seafaring. And that's where the Digital Skills 1 package has tried to bridge the gap. So the Digital Skills 1 package aims to be a basic introduction to the digital landscape of a ship and to provide useful skills for interacting with technology. And it's really aimed at operational level seafarers. So, for example, cadets and junior officers in all disciplines. And that I talk to a lot of people in my job as an educator, and that I commonly see a perception that the youth of today, having grown up with technology, will automatically have lots of digital skills. However, in our experience, there's maybe not that strong correlation between age and familiarity with technology, beyond perhaps the basic general use of a mobile phone or being able to click around a computer, that you can't necessarily expect that anyone knows how that equipment works, what to do with it beyond opening a web browser and clicking around. And so in how to address this, that whilst I had background knowledge, that I wouldn't necessarily have known where to begin in selecting what was the most important information for operational level seafarers. And that's as I say, that's kind of where the educational package came in. And at Fleetwood Nautical Campus, together with partners at Liverpool John Moores University, also in the UK, that we piloted the Digital Skills 1 package, and that I've used this phrase educational package quite a lot, but that essentially what we're talking about here is a toolbox of resources, and that includes a course specification and an outline of the program, giving an idea what topics are going to be covered, who the target audience is, what sort of entry level qualifications it's assuming that the entrants would have. And it also has a table of constructive alignment. So it aims to support both educators as well as people in industry. And whilst for many educators, it's the constructive alignment is basic things that we learn when we come into the education industry. For partners who are wanting to incorporate this into their shipping companies, they may not sort of understand this automatically. So this table of constructive alignment shows the links between the learning objectives, the activities that help people to learn, and how we check whether that's been learnt as we hoped. There's also sample lesson plans that give ideas about how we suggest that the lesson could be delivered. And it also directs you to some of the latest research and useful online materials that could help you in delivering about digital skills. And that I wanted to just highlight some of the things that we covered within this, and that within these two pilots that we ran at Liverpool John Moores and at Fleetwood Nautical Campus, one of the pilots was delivered to UK cadets from deck discipline and engineering discipline. These cadets had no sea experience and around 3 months of maritime education. And the Liverpool John Moores pilot was delivered to maritime experienced third-year university students. And these students, we delivered the material to them online. So that we created virtual learning environment resources and made this available to them with self-assessment activities, so that they could work through this material at their own pace. And that we started by introducing them to the concept of digital transformation and what's going on in the maritime industry, and some of the things which I've mentioned in my introduction already, the uses of shipboard data to feed into companies' weather routing for the vessel, and what weather routing is, what we mean by condition monitoring, and again how shipboard sensors and data, how that feeds into the companies' understanding of what's going on in the vessel. And similarly with predictive maintenance, that increasingly shipping companies are using automated systems to identify what maintenance needs will be upcoming, and put plans in place to be ready for that. And that if shipboard data is incorrect, then this has a major impact for company planning. And to try and help students understand the significance of this digital transformation, that we gave them some questions to do a little bit of research on, thinking about how certain key tasks on the ship were done 20 years ago, 5 years ago, how we think that they're going to be done 5 years in the future, and how it's going to be done 20 years in the future. And that this quite starkly indicated how fast the world is changing. And it also indicated how their responsibilities are likely to change. And so that led us on to the question of what are some of the things that power this transformation, and so that we looked at what types of shipboard sensors exist, and what their basic principles are, and then how those sensors are integrated into specialized operational technology networks. And for those who maybe aren't familiar with the term operational technology, when we talk about our PCs, laptops, phones, tablets, that we're talking about information technology. But when we're talking about industrial technology and maybe power management systems, for example, or industrial control systems, this is what we call operational technology. And these shipboard sensors are closely integrated with these specialized OT networks, as well as the general IT networks. And that this all feeds back to the shore, and so the students needed to have an understanding of how all of these technologies integrate, and in particular that that with shipboard IT networks, we looked at what some of the common topologies of networks are, how we arrange these in a physical and logical configuration, what different types of network devices exist and what their function is, and what some of the basic principles of IP networks, Internet Protocol networks, are. And that maybe sounds quite technical and maybe something that you'd expect to see more in an IT course, not a maritime course. So why cover this? So that we've got all this data and we're trying to get these shipboard computers connected to the internet, feeding back to the office. But who has to be hands-on on board for your IT department in the office when things go wrong? The seafarers on board maybe don't need to be experts in the technology, but they need to have basic familiarity of what this networking technology is, so that if they're told by the IT department, okay, try doing this, try doing that, they've got some awareness of what they're being asked to do, and maybe it helps them to ask the right questions when they see errors. And similarly with operational technology, that modern ships are full of digital equipment that talks to each other, and sometimes back to the office ashore or other ships in the area, and that this equipment's located on the bridge, integrated bridge systems, engine control room, and the cargo systems. And so in the event of failure, that how will the students, when they go and do their job as engineers, deck officers, how will they detect failure of sensors or networks? Are they expected to fix it themselves? That what are the shipboard consequences of sensor errors or failure? And what are the consequences ashore? So if a faulty fuel flow rate sensor is saying that they're consuming some amount of fuel, but then their tank level sensors are disagreeing, and the company's trying to make decisions that, or the officers on board are trying to make decisions, understanding what those sensors are and how reliable each of them is a very important skill. And so our experience of this EP, that those of us who were piloting this educational package had mixed levels of technology knowledge, and that we had selected students that were aligned to the audience specified by the educational package, although the educational package was aimed more towards the shipboard environment than an academic environment. The educational package gave structure to sort of how we addressed the field and highlighted key areas to address. It gave us some clear ideas for the sorts of activities that we could use to help the students, and it signposted us to relevant up-to-date resources and materials. And so that sort of helped us to adapt what was in the package to our individual contexts at Fleetwood Nautical Campus and Liverpool John Moores. And I think that's one of the really great things about the way that the EP is designed, that it's not meant to be limiting or a model course. It's that it's really there to give you a model of how, or to give you an idea of how SkillSea feel that this area can be addressed to meet a specific audience, and then you can take that and adapt it to your needs. to your context. And as for our students, that they, as I say, they had a range of backgrounds and experiences. That for one of the pilots, we made sort of attendance and engagement with the VLE resources mandatory. For the other, it was more optional. And the course was delivered as online self-guided lessons. And the students reported that the course had really opened their eyes to aspects of the maritime industry that they hadn't really considered and didn't really have any other sort of background knowledge of outside of what we were delivering to them. And that this educational package really has some great opportunities for being used by any partners that wanted to make use of it. That it's ideal for ship-to-shore collaboration. So if this was being done in a corporate setting, the company could create a company-specific approach and then send the resources to the ship, and that this might help to identify gaps in knowledge, that it might help the crew to understand how the data is being used to support the office better, and that it might open a conversation about the limitation of people's digital skills. Sometimes if you don't know what the question to ask is, you don't even know that there's a gap in your knowledge, or you maybe can't describe that gap. And so again, having this EP to try and open that conversation could be really beneficial. And so that with this being an education industry collaboration, that it is based on the views of industry, as well as the great experience of partners in the education sector. It's freely available to anyone who wants to download it, and it will shortly be available on the website, on the SkillSea website. That it can be used in educational contexts, as we did, but it's also really sort of oriented as well towards being incorporated in the workplace, and is flexible to meet your needs. That it's not designed to be prescriptive. It's designed to be sort of taken and adapted to your needs. And so that I could end with my question here. So do you think that digital skills matter for your officers and cadets? And do you think that your people need to know more about digital skills? And if the answer to either of those questions is yes, then I'd strongly encourage you to follow SkillSea on LinkedIn, and to check in on the website, because we will shortly be releasing the Digital Skills 1 educational package available for download, and as I say, it's freely available, and I'd strongly encourage you to check it out, to have a look and see how it would work for your academic or industry contexts. So thank you very much for listening to this part of the conversation, and that we'll be taking any questions at the end of the seminar. So I'd like to hand back to Diedrich.
Thank you, Alex, for this presentation. It provided us with a lot of background information concerning the needs for digital skills in maritime transport. So thank you for this, and we'll see after the next presentation whether there are specific questions, and we'll come to that later on. Orestes, please share your screen, and the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Can you see me?
Yes.
Great. So let me show you also my screen, please. Excuse me. Do you see my screen or not, or you still see me?
We still see you.
Okay, Just give me 1 sec to press the right button. Excuse me. Do you see my presentation?
Yes.
Great.
Yes, it's
Thank
clear.
you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. First of all, I would like to thank you for the invitation, and I would like also to congratulate, if I may use the word for the moment, because SkillSea as a project is coming to an end in the next months. And I think that the overall scientific production is quite interesting in this very sensitive field of maritime education and training. So I will focus today on the online tools that we have delivered. And the key question is how IT work and how can your institution benefit from this IT? It's a very wide topic, but I would like to, let's say, go back a little bit to the basics. What is the need? Why is it, let's say, so important to have, let's say, IT, the information technology working for us, and why it's so important to link IT with the modern maritime education and training and the management of the training facilities? The first point is, of course, the changing external environment. As you know very well, we are living right now, we are experiencing a huge change, a transition in the global economy. And I think that the term greening and sustainability and ESG and all of these terms will determine the future of all organizations and industries. So it is very important for the maritime education and training and the training facilities to adapt to the new realities. The second point that I think it's very important is to discuss the internal conditions. Originally, when STCW was devised and as instrument was also agreed by the member states, most maritime training facilities were state-owned facilities, or they were based on the traditions of every member state or every nation had in the education of shipping. However, this is not the case anymore. We have many private facilities. We have facilities that are international. They're not solely national. And there is one more point. We don't attract so many young people as we used in the past, especially in Europe. And these realities change the resource mix that we consider in the management of these training facilities. In few words, the training facilities, they are faced with a very simple dilemma: adapt, change, or die. It is your choice. And this is very important to understand and see where we are, because all of these decisions are more complicated than we think, especially when we have the state and the society as a wider stakeholder in our equation. As I said before, attracting young professionals. How can you do that? We have listened before about digital technologies. We have listened before about the topology of networks and all of this stuff. How can we attract the young people when our educational content, our educational offer is not streamlined with their expectation, with the current needs and the future expectations? Finally, how can we increase the employability? It is very important that we have to use modern tools to increase the employability, and we have also to define the term employability in such a sector. Such a sector, why? Because we are talking about international labor force and because we are talking about international conventions that regulate this profession. Finally, I would like to add one more point here: the governance issues. It's not only women at the helm, it is not only about diversity, it is about a new concept how to manage all facilities. And we see that digitization and data-driven management is practically governing or taking on all other business and entities. It is not possible for the maritime training centers and facilities to, let's say, lag behind or still become or be indifferent to these changes. Our approach. What have we delivered? How did we approach these problems? First of all, we have considered that any tool, any strategy, any methodology that we will consider should be market and industry friendly. The maritime training facilities, the maritime education and training is an educational package, is an educational product that serves primarily the needs of the market. So it's not an academic facility that has, for example, as first priority to educate scientists. It is a facility that has to educate professionals. And this is very important in the goal setting when we set the objectives, the mission, and the vision of these organizations. The second point is that we have to consider the experience and we have to see what happened in other industries. What happened, for example, in the aviation? How did aviation, for example, tackle these issues? Or, if I'm allowed to use these terms, in the mercantile marine, we used to get experiences from the naval forces, or let's say from the armed forces of the past. This link does not exist anymore, but we need somehow to get ideas and models of what happened in other industries. So it is very important for us to consider tools that are also tested in other industries. And having said that, these tools should be widely acceptable. So for example, when we considered and we structured our models on the basis of some mathematical modeling and tools and approaches, we selected models and mathematical approach that are widely accepted, models that are used in all sectors, not only in some sectors. And this is important because we have blended our tools, our, let's say, scientific expertise with our insight and experience of the industry. So it is very important to listen to the experts. It's very important to listen to the industry and get all this input and use it or somehow blend it in the tools of the future. We also understand, and this is something that we never forget, that we have multiple criteria problems. Maritime education and training, maritime training facility management, it is not, let's say, a simple problem. Why? Because it's not so simple as another business where you have to maximize the revenues or to maximize the profit or to protect, let's say, the interest of the shareholders. In this case, you have not only to consider financial sustainability, but you also have to consider the sustainability of the business, the relation of with the stakeholders, and of course, how to attract young people. This is, let's say, a critical issue. Finally, as I said before, the new governance is very important. And you see that in the new governance patterns, we have collective decision making. You may call it as board of directors, you may call it as board of experts, you may call it as committees. However, collective decision making is very important. And it is important because every expert, every, let's say, officer of the organization who has the right or the obligation to participate in the decision making has also experience to share and has also some insight to provide. So this is, let's say, how we considered our job and our contribution. What did we deliver? We deliver 4 tools. The first one is the strategy direction location. That is a tool that helps the management of maritime training facilities to map their relative position, to see where they are and how can they optimize or how can they use resources in order to improve their relative position. This kind of tools are widely used in the industry, in all industries, in order to understand the external competition and in order to allocate resources to the direction of improving either the internal or the external environment, and to allocate not only the resource, as I said, but also to set the right goals for the future. Goals that let's say, could assist you to cooperate better with other entities. I will come to this point. I will show you some examples how it works, and I will also share my screen with the tools online that are currently available. The other module that is quite easy in my view, it is the transcript international transfer, which is a very simple tool specially designed for the lecturers. You know that many lecturers are faced with the very common problem, how to recognize, how to acknowledge, let's say, the certificate or the module that was taken in another facility. So currently, especially in Europe, we have young people who begin their studies in facility A, for example, in country A, for example, in Greece, and then they would like to continue their studies in country B or in facility C, for example, in the Netherlands. So it is an issue for the colleagues in the Netherlands how to, let's say, consider the background that this Greek candidate, the Greek student brings together. So this, for example, can be done with a tool where it's very simple and reflects not only the priorities of the lecturer and the facility in the Netherlands, but can also assess similar modules. In this way, it is possible for the facilities to devise strategies or even to set some rules to enable mobility. And mobility is a key issue, as you all know, in the modern educational market and educational environment, especially in Europe. The other two models are the employability model, which I consider as very interesting model. Why? Because in reality, it can measure the employability of the professional, but on the other hand, it can also serve as a model to measure the performance or the employability performance indicator of the facility, for example, of graduates, or to assess this performance over time, or even to compare different cohorts of the same facility. Finally, we have the stakeholder model, which is a very interesting model in the sense that it's based on the PESTEL approach. The PESTEL, for those who are not familiar with that, is political, economic, social, technical, environmental, and legal, where we have to consider at a high level the relations of this facility with the stakeholders and how can this facility cooperate with the stakeholders. So how do these models work? These models, as I said, they are multi-criteria, and you can see that our knowledge, our, let's say, insight is reflected in the problem by having or by adding criteria. Here, for example, the positioning of the MTC, as I said, it is a mapping of the market and the relative positioning of the facility in the competition market. You know very well, or this is also what we learn, that we have internal and external factors that determine the competitiveness of any organization. And for these internal factors, the internal factors are the factors that you cannot, the internal factors are the ones that you can change, you can impact with own decisions, while the externals are the ones that you cannot. They are more market decisions. So you can see here that we have considered three criteria. For example, the percentage of the STCW courses over the total courses offered, the number of endorsements the facility possesses, and of course the orientation and the character. I think that the criterion 1 and 2 are quite simple, but the criterion 3 is, let's say, the orientation and the character. So why is it quite interesting? Because there are facilities that are closer, let's say, to vocational, while other facilities are closer to academic units, or the spirit and the character is, let's say, closer to that. So you see that these criteria are considered in this hierarchy. For the external assessment, we have, let's say, the non-academic support to foreign students, which is very important. And this relates mainly to wider policies of the state. For example, should or must foreign students pay fees, or is it easy to rent a flat, or is it easy to open an account? All of these are issues that are beyond the control of the facility. The other point is, for example, the adequacy of the means. Do you have, let's say, sufficient means for your marketing or for your approach? And this, in many cases, is determined by a higher entity like the Ministry of Education or Mercantile, Marine, whatever, that has a policy in maritime training. And, of course, the established cooperation with foreign partners. So I will show later on how it works as a model in a very simple Excel sheet. But as you can see, this is the basic concept behind all modules. We break down the problem into levels and the criteria, and we follow the practice of, let's say, usual business planning and consulting. One point here, some people might say, hey, there is an issue here. I mean, all of these criteria should be independent. That means that, for example, the orientation and the character, the internal criterion 3, is independent, for example, to the external criterion 3, that is the established cooperation, which is not the case. And the answer is yes. For this moment, we can have the assumption that there is, but there are ways how to implement also dependencies among criteria. My goal was here to leave it and to keep things simple, but we can increase always the complexity of these models. The next point, as you can see here, is, for example, the similarity tool. So for 3 criteria, I had just copied from my Excel sheet in order to make things very clear here. We have 3 criteria that the lecturer can use, for example, the content similarity, the workload, and the academic level. And we have here, let's say, the input for these modules, So for example, this can be module 1 and 2 or 3, whatever, and we would like to assess their similarity. So based on this criteria, we extract the weights. I mean, I'm not going to get into the details how to, and this is here the input. So you can see, for example, for the criterion 1, that is, let's say, the workload, you can have here the hours, the total hours involved, or here that is a similarity, or even the academic level. For example, 100 is, let's say, total academic, 0 is fully vocational, and you can see how it works. And these are, let's say, the results that normally the user should not see, but you can see how they are derived. And this is what you get. You get, for example, that the similarity of A1 over A2 given this input is -54 or -41 here, or you see that A2 and A3 are more similar than all the others. Of course, all of these models are explained in the deliverables, but also in the website where they are available. The employability model is the self-assessment model, is, let's say, the model that I think that it would be more interesting for most professionals, and as I said, freely available. We split the employability into the typical skills and competencies. There is a huge debate in the industry, and there is also a huge debate in the academic world about the skills and the competencies. But as you can see, for both skills and competencies, we break down further to statutory and market required criteria, or statutory and self-empowerment criteria. And what we have here, we have, let's say, the level of the basic criteria, the attributes that make our graduate or any mariner or professional employable. So for example, the understanding of STCW, of national rules, greening, digital, soft skills, especially what relates to leadership, competencies again for STCW national issues, because this is the formal requirement, but also we have the ability to learn, the self-motivation, the monitoring, and the professional identity and pride. All of this input has also been validated or verified with external experts in focus groups. Last but not least, because we don't have much of time and I would like to show you how it works, is it also, let's say, a similar model for the stakeholders, where, as I said, we base our decision making on political, legal, environmental, and technological issues, and this is a high-level strategic tool for the use of the maritime training facilities. Give me 1 sec, and I will switch my screen to the model. How can you benefit? First of all of these online tools are freely available. We're talking about a new management concept and approaches. I think that is very important for all maritime training facilities to consider these new governance practices. Allow me to say that it is not possible to continue with, let's say, the management inertia that we had from the past. We have new requirements. It's not only the ESG, it's not only the SDGs that should determine the governance. We are having a new societal environment. And this is not only the issue of diversity, but it is also an issue of communication among generations, the generation X, Y, Z, and it is, of course, an issue of digitalization, because decision-making process is, let's say, more streamlined, more flat, and less hierarchical as in the past. It is group decision-making is possible. You can see in the instructions how it is. Of course, the models are flexible and adjustable. I never consider that these models will last forever. All models are wrong. Some of them are useful. I hope that in the next version of the models, we're going to have more input to, let's say, make them more sensitive and more agile to the needs of the future market. And of course, we consider that these models are very close to the client, the society, and the industry, because we have to consider who the client is, what is the society doing for us, and what is the society expecting from us, and of course, how we should serve the industry. Allow me just to switch for a second my screen and show you here. Excuse me. Yep. If you do not mind, let me show you here. For example, have a look here at the. Do you see my screen right now? Again, the Excel sheet?
Yes.
Great. So this is the Excel sheet, for example, for the employability model. So what we have done is that you see that this is what the questions that, for example, a mariner, a professional should ask himself. For example, do you possess more skills than competencies? And here in the self-assessment tool, the user can select an answer, for example, equally. Then if you consider that statutory skills or market required skills are more important, strongly agree, disagree, whatever, as you can see from the list. And the same goes on here. All of these tools will be online. And then what you have to fill, let's say, your self-assessment. So for example, you possess the skills required by STCW, for example, 80%, or you possess the competencies required by the national law, for example, 90 here, blah, blah, blah. And you see that you get a final score, something like here, I mean, given this input, as you can see, the user would get something like 25% of employability. So this is quite interesting because as a tool, as you can see, it is very easy to use. It is based on Excel. but it will be available online, as it is available online. And you can see that the results are also here derived. So one last point, as you can see, apologies for sharing my screen again, but you can see also here that you have this is the website of the SkillSea, and you can see also online information, instructions how to use it, and of course the link to the tools, where in the tools the user is getting specific instructions how to use the model, and of course the what to fill and how to use in all these cases. So I hope I did not abuse your time. I have used more than 1 minute. So if there are any questions, I would be more than happy to answer. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Orestes, for this this introduction. I think your introduction provides for very good background information with the number of instruments you have described. And it also makes clear that the results of these kind of instruments leads to the participation in training courses such as Alex has demonstrated. Esther, are there any questions in the chat which needs to be answered now?
At this moment, no, but people are free to ask them.
In case there seems that nothing is popping up, so in case nothing is popping up, I would like to mention again that you will find the different presentations on our SkillSea website. You can find the tools Orestes just explained on the SkillSea website. He has shown you where to find it. Alex has described the educational package on digital skills, which will be found on the website within a few days. I hope just before Christmas. And in that sense, I would like to thank you for your presence during this seminar. I would like to mention already that we probably will organize new seminars around March next year to give you more updates on the different educational packages we are developed and to introduce you more about the results of the SkillSea project. For now, I would like to thank again Alex and Orestes for their presentations, and we hope to see you on another occasion again. Thank you very much.
Thank you.